What's up, guys? Tim Little, Matt Allen. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin, and welcome to the first video in our Spring Buyer's Guide series. We are so excited to get this series started. We've got new videos for you every single day for 8 days in a row. So you want to keep checking back. We're getting this thing started. We wanted to be mindful of the budget guide to start. So what we've got today is affordable baits that really do catch fish. There's a lot of cheap baits on the market. Then there's affordable baits. Then there's quality baits that actually work. We've done the work for you. These are baits that won't break the bank, and they will catch fish. Yeah, we hate the word cheap, so we use the word inexpensive, but we put a lot of time into this. So we got everything. Matt talked about baits, but we got hard baits, soft plastics, hooks, shaky heads. We got line, braid, floor. We got a whole bunch of stuff for you guys. Yep. I'll go ahead and kick it off. We're gonna start off with swim baits. So if you're looking for an awesome, inexpensive swim bait, a bait that you don't have to replace after just a few fish, this guy right here, that is the Megabass Dark Sleeper. This has caught numerous giant fish for us. Big largemouth, giant smallmouth. Comes in some really cool colors. It has that kind of bait fishy, panfish kind of profile. So it works on your ponds, it works on your rivers, it works on your lakes. It's a do-all bait, but that guy doesn't break the bank, and it has a nice stout hook in there behind the dorsal fin. Catch a lot of fish on it, and the fish just eat it. That guy right there, the Dark Sleeper, is a must. The next one, for the guy who fishes a lot of bluegill fisheries, be that a pond, a grass lake, or it's just springtime on your lake, and bass are doing that, well, they're about to start doing the battle between the bluegill and the bass. The Savage Gear RTF bluegill, that little 4-inch bluegill, is a phenomenal bait. I do so much damage with this thing every spring. It's a bait that you can sight fish with when they're spawning, but you can also cast it and fish it effectively on grass edges, over the top of the grass, around laydowns. It's just a bite size profile that they just come out and inhale whole, and it is a very effective bait. And both of those are super durable baits. Right. They're baits that you can catch a lot of fish on without a problem. That Savage Gear just has that little subtle kick. It swims really, really well, and the paint schemes on them, they look realistic. It's Savage Gear did a really good job with that bait. All right, next up for me, we're going with this guy right here. This is the Storm Largo Shad. As you can see, unlike the other two, it does not come rigged. We picked this bait because it goes well on underspins, on single swim bait heads, on A-rigs. It's super durable. It swims extremely well. There are a lot of soft plastic swim baits on the market. Some get pretty pricey, and some get torn up really, really easily. So this guy right here, we threw it in here because it's one of our favorites, but it's inexpensive. It's durable. It lasts a long time, several fish, and it's super universal. You could rig it on several different heads. So that Storm Largo Shad is a great soft swim bait. All right, with that, we're gonna transition into wire baits and hard baits. Now, one thing I do wanna say is in the video description, we will link everything that we're talking about in the order that we talked about it. So when you open the description below this video, if you're on our website, if you're on tacticalbassin.com, just scroll down. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, you might have to click more, scroll down, click more again. You might have to click the 3 little dots to open it up, but there is a description below the video, no matter where you're seeing this, that will take you straight to Tackle Warehouse to each one of these items, so you don't have to take a bunch of detailed notes. The goal, again, here is to help you guys, because you can go, just on this budget stuff, you could go broke if you bought it all, right? Imagine if it's not budget stuff. We have done this for decades. We've found the gems, we've found problem baits, and we have narrowed it and narrowed it and narrowed it. So we're just trying to give you those key baits that really will help you. So if you want to throw a spinnerbait, this is a great option. This specific bait, this is from War Eagle. This is the Screamin' Eagle. What that means is that it has downsized blades over the traditional War Eagle spinnerbait. If I could only have one, it's the 1/2 ounce size in the Screaming Eagle. Again, we'll link the exact one for you, and we'll give you favorite colors and things too, as long as we can get it to fit. If we get to the bottom of the description, we can't add more, is what it is. But that particular spinnerbait has a phenomenal hook. It's light wire. You can burn it quickly. You can fish it deep or shallow. It's just an amazing all-around spinnerbait.
Yeah, we tried to break this down by category. So as we go through these baits, you'll see we have square bills and spinnerbaits and chatterbaits, and we couldn't do one without having some sort of topwater bait.
Yep.
And there's different types of topwater baits, right? But we went with the Storm Chug Bug. This is a middle of the pack size topwater. It's got a cupped face, so you could fish it as a popper. You can also fish it as a walking bait. This thing has a walk to it. You get those little subtle rod twitches. This thing will go side to side, and with that cupped face, it spits and throws water. You can chug it, like you said, like a popper, but it doesn't break the bank. It's an awesome topwater, and like I said, it's universal. You can fish it multiple ways. A lot of topwaters on the market, it's one or the other,
right,
and this one does both.
All right, the next major category in the spring, because this stuff is specific to spring fishing. The next one is a chatterbait, right? You can't talk spring bass fishing and not throw a chatterbait into that mix. How do you choose the right chatterbait, the right bladed jig? Well, price comes into that, durability comes into that, quality of components, and it is very simple to narrow it down to that Z-Man custom that they make exclusively for Tackle Warehouse. That is a very, very affordable chatterbait that comes in some fantastic colors with a great heavy-duty hook on it. You know, we love the Jackhammer. We love the Evo. There's a lot of really good chatterbaits, but when you start talking bang for the buck,
right,
what's the one where I can save money and I'm still gonna catch them? There's no question it's that custom.
Yeah, and it's hard, like Matt said, there's that fine line, there's that balance, right? Because there's a lot of good bladed jigs on the chatterbaits on the market. There's a lot of good topwater, spinnerbait, all these categories, but which ones truly work, which ones catch fish, which ones don't break after a few fish?
Yeah, you take like your top 5 or 6, and then you're like, well, let's look at fine details on price, durability,
yeah, and narrow it down
and
to
you
one.
can finally narrow it down to one. It is not easy to do.
Yeah, with that said, square bills, springtime. We've done several videos recently talking about the importance of square bills, the importance of red square bills, particularly in the springtime. So we went with this guy right there. That's the Hunter by Spro. This is an awesome square bill at any price point, but this is in the Essential series. It has a great knock to it. It is durable. You're not going to break the bills off it. It comes in awesome colors, but it also comes pre-rigged with basically Gamakatsu hooks. You don't have to.
You're not changing anything.
You're changing anything out. You're not spending as much for hooks as you are as the bait. So it's important to have a square bill right now. Like Matt said, this is a springtime buyer's guide. You got to have a square bill. That guy right there has an awesome sound, awesome colors, and sticky, sharp hooks.
Next, talking crankbaits, keeping that trend going. We're not going to put in 10 different crankbaits, so we only went as far as a mid diver, not a deep diver. In the mid diver category, we've got a handful of favorites. That's probably the most overlooked category in the crankbait game, I think. Not necessarily by brands, there are a lot of options, but by anglers.
Right.
A lot of anglers overlook mid cranks. We really had to narrow it down, but we settled on that Strike King 3 XD. You can think of a couple days in particular where we fished together through the years where that particular bait, for one reason or another, just shined. Just flat caught them. It'll get you down in that 4 to 8 foot range. It'll pull fish up a little bit for you. It's got a good rattle to it. Hardware is okay. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Hardware's okay, but I fished it with stock hardware. I've caught big ones on it on stock hardware. I just babied them to get them to the boat. But, I mean, bang for the buck, that one catches them.
All right, best bang for the buck, lipless crankbait or trap is going to be the Cordell Super Spot. You guys have heard us preach about this bait for years. Has a great sound to it. If you're a guy that's fishing shallow flats, which you should be this time of the year, these fish are moving up in that pre-spawn into that spawn transition. They're up on those flats. This is a bait that you can chuck and wind. It's a bait that you can hop. It's not super heavy. You can fish it over the tops of the grass, but more importantly, it's inexpensive. It doesn't break the bank. A lot of our favorite lipless cranks are pretty pricey.
You can buy a lot of these for one of some of those.
Exactly right. So that's Super Spot. If you're new to trap fishing or lipless crankbait fishing, this is an awesome bait to start off with. Again, it doesn't break the bank. If you do get hung up or broken off, you can buy several of these for the price of some of our other favorites. But good colors. Again, just like that that Strike King, doesn't come with the best hardware on it, but they still
it'll get you by. Yeah. All right, with that, we're going to transition into soft plastics. To kick it off, same deal. We picked one
for each category.
From your major categories. That was not, I want to stress, that was not easy to do. Creature bait. This one might surprise people. In fact, I think a bunch of people have never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I went back and forth because I really got down to the dollars and cents of it. I narrowed it down to 3 or 4, and I sat looking at them, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to let them know. Through the years, there have been a handful of fishing videos we've done where this particular bait caught the kicker. Like a lot of times we're just flipping or pitching cover and it's a creature bait, they come in the boat, you're not even paying attention. But this particular bait in this particular color even has got them for me through the years. It has caught fish when other stuff just wouldn't work. From big bite baits, this is a bait called the Flying Squirrel. It's sort of a strange bait. It's in that creature category, so it's got arms on it. In fact, I'm just gonna open it.
Pull one out.
I'll pull it out for you.
It's got movement, good movement on the tentacles.
The important thing here is that these 2 straight tails, see, it's got these little balls on the ends of those tails. Those little balls, they move and they float. And I think that has been the difference maker. I love that tilapia color, but again, through the years, it's not a bait that I put on every day. It's a bait that I put in my boat in the springtime, and if things aren't going my way, I put that one on. And it is a budget-friendly, downright affordable bait, and I've caught absolute giants on it.
Yeah, if I could say anything about that bait, it's the color. Don't be fooled by that tilapia color. Some of you guys on the middle to the west side of the country don't have tilapia for the most part, right? But that is a color that straight up, that's my favorite color in all of the, I mean, some of my biggest fish in Florida are caught on that color. Some of my biggest fish in Texas are caught on that color. Like that tilapia color, it's a color that looks like a lot of things.
It's got that blue and it's just got that bluegilly vibe.
Bluegill, yeah, it's a really good color. So don't be, that's my favorite color as well. Didn't want to skip over that. Don't be thrown off by that tilapia color. All right, next up, so we went with a crawbait. We decided to go with the Missile Baits D-Bomb, specifically Superbug. That's my favorite color. It's just an awesome universal color, a lot like that tilapia color. It's, well, first off, the bait. It looks like a crawdad, right? It has your body, has your appendages. This could be fished as a flip bait. It could be fished as a jig trailer. It's got good ribbed body, so it has some good motion. But getting back to that color, it's green pumpkin black flake and on the top, or I guess it depends on how you rig it, and then black with blue glitter on the bottom.
I think you just gave away how you rig it.
Yeah, I usually have the subtle on the top and I have the dark, you know, flash on the bottom. But it's a super universal bait. Like I said, if you're a guy that likes to flip, pitch, or punch, this is an awesome, awesome bait. If you're a guy that likes to throw a jig and drag or hop, that's an awesome trailer. So again, inexpensive in the category, great colors. And this bait's won a lot of tournaments across the country.
You know, another good option with that bait is free rigging. That's one of those baits where those tails are so, a lot of baits have a really good profile, but their tails are thick and they have to fall quickly to do anything. And the tails on that bait are so paper thin that even on a free rig on that slow fall, you get some movement out of them. All right. You know how hard it is to pick one worm? I mean, are you kidding? Are you kidding? But to be honest, it wasn't that tough, because I just thought, which one do we throw a ton, right? And then we compare notes, and we're like, slam dunk, it's the NetBait T-Mac. If you just cataloged which worms we have rigged when we're fishing throughout the year, you arrive here very quickly. The beauty of a T-Mac, it's not the cheapest package of worms. There's 20 of them in there.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And they're durable. I mean, I might go through 2 packs of T-Macs a year, and I fish them a ton. The T-Mac is just a great straight-tailed worm. Bulbous tail. We discovered this bait years ago.
Not we, he did. I won't take credit for that. He found that.
It's in that trick worm type profile. Okay, there's 20 baits in that profile. Slim body, bulbous tail. We were comparing a bunch of baits in underwater footage. Didn't think anything was gonna stand out. And that T-Mac, I mean, it stood out like such a sore thumb that it just became
our staple. Yeah.
Straight tail worm that we throw. It was that different. It's so hard as just an angler at the tackle shop. You see all these baits. You don't know how they look underwater. You don't know that they're made of different plastics, that one floats, one doesn't, that one has tons of movement, the next one's stiff as a board. The T-Mac stands out from the crowd when you see it underwater, and it is a fish catcher.
All right, next up, we're talking about stick baits. Like Matt said, you know how hard it is to figure out or to narrow that category down to one bait. This one was a little bit easier because they are so inexpensive and they are a fish catcher. So the Yum Dinger. If you guys have followed the channel for, who knows, a while, you guys have known that we've done a couple videos comparing the falls, the sink rates, the falls of stick baits, popular stick baits on the market. You guys know that we love the Yamamoto Senko, but let's be honest, they are a little pricey. When you can get these things in a 50 pack or a 25 pack.
You can bulk pack those
You
things.
can bulk pack them. They have a really slow, they're one of the slowest falling stick baits that we've compared. This is, I mean, I started throwing this thing when I was a kid fishing ponds, right? Like I didn't have the money to buy a Senko and they just last. So even today, when I'm just going pond fishing, I'm just going junk fishing, whatever, I always have Yum Dingers in my backpack if I'm hoofing it.
That's not why he has the Yum Dingers. It's because that's what he gives his kids, so they don't wipe out his Senko stash.
That's exactly right. Now I give them, I buy them the bulk pack and I send them loose. But yeah, the Yum Dinger. If you guys are new to stick bait fishing or worm fishing, this is an awesome bait. You can rig it wacky rigged, you can rig it Texas rigged, but as far as a single bait in that category that's inexpensive and is a proven fish catcher, that Yum Dinger is it.
All right, strolling. Whether we're talking hover strolling, mid strolling, bottom strolling, Damiki rigging, hover rigging, you call it whatever you want, moping, right? Yep. A guy on the front of a boat with a spinning rod in his hand and a little soft plastic has taken over tournament bass fishing. I mean, it is wiping out tournament bass fishing right now. It will not always be that way. This is not the first trend we've seen come in and just crush fish.
Yeah.
Fish adapt. So if you don't want to stroll, it's all good. Hang in there a little while. But if you want to catch some fish right now on a method that we were, for the most part, overlooking, well, I can't speak for you. This dude was ahead of his time. This is such a big category right now. In a couple of days, we're going to do a buyer's guide specific to strolling. That's how big of a deal it's become. I guess now's a good time to say, today we're talking
inexpensive baits.
Inexpensive baits. Tomorrow we're talking hard baits. Next day we're talking strolling. Next day we're talking bait finesse, BFS. Then we start transitioning to rods, reels, stuff like that. This, again, we're rolling through these videos every single day. So that strolling category, we're going to keep it simple today. If I could have one bait based on the number of fish we've caught, durability, price,
color,
Hog Farmer Spunk Shad. This is a 3.5, this is a 4.5. You could go either way. The beauty of a 4.5 is it's also phenomenal chatterbait trailer.
Not just phenomenal, it's the
chatterbait. Literally and that color. Like if I could only have one, that's the one. Sexy Shad. Just an amazing chatterbait trailer, but it's also our favorite, or at least our most consistent bait to stroll with. Put it on a lead head. This is literally, you're going to treat it like a swim bait. You're going to put it on a lead head, throw it out, start winding. Where a swim bait would swim on its own, this you're gonna reel with one hand, you're gonna shake with the other, and that bait's going to rock through the water. Again, we'll have a video that shows you how to actually get your bait to do that. That's coming in a couple of days, but that's an amazing option.
All right, next up, let's talk Ned rigs. Had to go with the Z-Man, the TRD, the original, right?
Yep.
This is the original Ned, right? Elastec, super, super durable, high float, lots of action. You can catch, I don't even want to put a number of
There's
fish.
Facebook groups dedicated to guys bragging about how many fish,
on
over
one bait.
100, 200 that they've caught on one bait.
Yes, if you're talking about a bait, a proven fish catcher that doesn't break the bank and last, I don't know that you can find one better than something made out of Elastec and that Z-Man TRD. But if you're looking for an inexpensive, durable, awesome fish catching Ned bait, that guy right there.
All right, drop shot bait. Not only is this an affordable bait, there's 15 of them in a pack. This is a bait with unreal action. This is from Missile. They call this little guy the Bomb Shot. The Bomb Shot is a ribbed body, much like their D-Bomb creature bait, but then it's got this paper thin, flat paddle tail on it. Hopefully you can see it, because I went with one of my favorite colors, and Fishalicious is not easy to say. It's like,
See on camera,
it's
all like
clear,
see-through.
yeah. But this bait, not only is it affordable, it's a bait that when you give it the gentle shake, different baits, some drop shot baits you want to work them and let them fall. This one you want to give it that subtle shake. The way it will flow in the water, it's incredible. And it just happens to be affordable.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite drop shot baits, and that's, I think we found that underwater footage as well. You give it the most subtle action because that tail is so paper thin. Even just the natural current in your lake, and for you,
Yeah, you think you're holding it still.
yeah, and you just see that thing just doing that subtle movement, right? And just so you guys know, even if you're not on a river system, your lake still has current. Depends on the wind and all that sort of stuff. But just having that bait sitting there, having that paper thin tail, that thing's just moving, and it looks super, super good. All right, last up in the soft plastics, we had to throw a fluke in there, a fluke style bait. This is actually the Zoom
Fluke.
Zoom Super Fluke. Again, doesn't break the bank. I can't even figure out how to open this thing.
They named a category after it for a reason.
Yeah, this is the Fluke, right? That's one of our favorite colors. That's Smokin' Shad. It's a bait that can be rigged on a Nico rig, a Texas rig, wacky. I mean, you could do all sorts of things, but the main point of this bait is it's a soft plastic jerk bait. So you rig it weedless, rip, 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 pause, rip, rip, rip. Again, it's an ultra deadly bait, especially when you're in and around grass. So we had to add that in there, but that Super Fluke, it's just a staple in our fishing. And there's been a lot of imitations or different spin off of that guy right there, but that's the original. Like Matt said, that name is the category, so that guy made the list.
All right, with that, we're gonna transition over to terminal. So hooks, stuff like that. There's an incredible amount of hooks on the market, right? You get onto those pages on Tackle Warehouse and you're, you want 100 drop shot hooks? You want 100 flipping hooks? Let's talk about jig heads. You want 1,000 of those, right? And some of the prices are outrageous. Now, a lot of them, there's a reason. I mean, there's a lot of gems in there, but when it comes to affordability, certain heads, certain hooks just stand out. From Big Bite Baits, this is their fin twist head. It's a shaky head. If you can buy it in a bulk pack, even better. But even in the small pack, crazy affordable compared to everything else, especially given that it's got an actual Gamakatsu hook in it. It's not like it's some cheap off-brand hook that they've thrown in there. I don't know how they do it at the price that they do compared to everyone else. But that head, it's not just affordable. I want to know that they're going to work. So years ago, when we did the very first budget video, I fished these things and they stayed in my boat for a long time. I mean, I can't tell you how many fish I've caught on those fin twist heads. They just flat out work, period. It's that simple, and they are very affordable.
Yeah, it's not like you're reinventing the wheel. I mean, a shaky head is one of the most common techniques out there. It all depends on if you want tungsten or lead, but that is an awesome, awesome bait. And like Matt said, it comes with a Gamakatsu hook in it, so kind of a no-brainer there. All right, next up for us, let's talk a wacky rig hook. This is the VMC wacky hook, extra wide gap, but that is the value pack. What's cool about this hook, you guys know that we love the finesse wide gap. It's that style of hook.
Yep,
it's
that bigger wide gap.
It's super universal, especially if you're throwing your wacky rigs, right? You can nose rig flukes, you can do all sorts of things with it. But the value pack, and specifically this one by VMC, this actually, when you're paying attention, maybe you're not, but when I'm paying attention tying my Palomar knots on my hooks, a lot of times, if you don't pull it right, that knot as it's coming around can get kind of hooked, caught in the gap. They went ahead and put resin on the hook eye and closed that little tiny gap up, so your knot's not ever gonna get caught in that. It's not gonna nick your line, it's not gonna, but anyway, they thought outside the box on that. But this guy right there, a value pack, it doesn't break the bank. If you're a wacky fisherman, this is a must. That VMC value pack is a really, really good hook.
All right, talking like an actual worm hook or an all-purpose type hook, a wide gap hook. This decision was so easy for me because this is literally, for all the high-end hooks on the market, this is one of my all-time favorite wide gap hooks. I fish with these every day. I have them in the boat right there, right now, all my sizes lined up in my boat all the time. This is the Owner all-purpose bait hook. It's a black nickel hook, needlepoint hook, simple, but they work.
Right.
I mean, right? It ends there. They work. It's all purpose. You can rig your D-bomb on there. You can flip heavy cover. You can rig your creature bait on there. Your dinger, your fluke, right? They work for everything. I have them everywhere that I go. They're in my jet boat, they're in my bass boat, they're in my kayak box. They're just an affordable hook that is going to catch fish, period. I love that hook. I love it in this video. I love it in a high-end video. It just gets them.
All right, last up on the hooks, the technique specific hooks, we're going with a drop shot hook. This is the Finesse drop shot hook by Hayabusa. It's a coated hook, it's a Japanese hook, it's a super sharp hook.
Yep, and light wire too.
It doesn't break the bank. You guys know that we love, there's some hooks that we love specifically for the drop shot technique. This is quickly becoming one of our favorites. We don't lose fish on them. Again, they don't break the bank, but again, Hayabusa, it's not a name that's known really well over here in the U.S. market, but over on the Japanese, Japanese domestic market, they're very popular. So that guy right there, if you're looking for a smaller wacky rigged hook, a smaller drop shot hook, ultra finesse, light wire, that guy's a winner. You just want to do line, or you want to split it up, or what?
I can do line. We'll just wrap it up then. Then you wrap us up after that. I'll try not to go too long. All right, fluorocarbon. I grabbed 2 fluoros for you. Fluorocarbon line is amazing, right? It's clearer than mono in most situations, less stretch than mono.
More sensitive.
More sensitive. It is just a very effective line. The downside of fluorocarbon has always been cost. You can, just like you can go broke on hooks, you can go broke putting line on your reels. It's no joke. Especially high-end line. I mean, you're talking, you take a handful of reels, you can drop hundreds of dollars in line.
Especially if you're respooling all the time.
And then you can go out and backlash them and do it all over again, right? It's crazy. Now, in the last 2 years, both Seaguar and Sunline have answered that call. Both of these are phenomenal options. You've got the Seaguar Basics, you've got the Sunline Model FC. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that these are equivalent to $40 and $50 and $60 fluorocarbons. That's not the point. The point is that they are very fishable, affordable fluorocarbons. They will work. They will get the job done. You can catch fish. You're not going to be crying if you backlash and you need to respool again. It's line that you can strip off and put fresh line on for your next trip and not worry about it. They're just good, solid lines. They've got good knot strength. They just flat out work. And it's amazing that 2 major brands have answered that call and brought a legitimate budget line option to fluorocarbon.
Well, it's kind of like why we're doing this video, right? Inexpensive line. They see the trends in the market. One thing I want to touch on before Matt jumps into braid, with expensive fluorocarbon, it could be a pain in the butt to manage and deal with. It's super stiff, lots of memory. You don't get that with these. So this is really easy to fish. If you do backlash it, it's not gonna, you don't have to pull the whole spool off and re-spool. Some of those high-end lines, once you backlash it, it's done.
You nick it, it's done.
Yeah, once you, so these are super, and that's been kind of the fuss with fluorocarbon for a long time, is you gotta stretch it, make it, you know, make it straight or whatever. This is super easy, manageable fishing line.
Now, Tim and I both love fishing braid. We fish a lot of braid. Braid on the front end costs more. The beauty of braid is you can spool braid up and it can last a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons if you don't fish that much. And what you do is you get a mid-size braid. So you can get, if you're fishing heavy cover, you get yourself a 50. If you're not fishing heavy cover, get a 30 or a 40. If you're using spinning, get like a 10, a 12, 20, a 15, somewhere in there. You put that on a couple of your reels, and now you can take a 30 or a 40 pound braid, you can tie 10 pound fluoro, you can tie 15, you can tie 20, right? And you just change out that little section of line.
Mono, depending on the technique.
Absolutely, right? And you can throw everything from a topwater to a swim bait to a creature bait
to a shaky head.
To a shaky head, just by changing your leader material. And that main line just lasts, and it only gets shorter when you tie a knot and you clip off a little piece of it, right? You're never loosing the stuff. It's amazing how long it will last. It is, and it will take budget gear and make it drastically more sensitive because the line itself is low stretch. There's a ton of sensitivity there. Now, there are a lot of braids on the market. We've got a handful of favorites. We looked at our top half a dozen favorites, and the Suffix 832 is the most affordable of all the braids that we trust day in and day out. It comes in a ton of colors. You guys have probably noticed this year, this is that sunrise color, that like pink, purple, white. Like that section's purple, then it turns white. It rotates through the colors. I've got that on a lot of my reels this year. I like that high visibility because take like throwing a Yum Dinger or a Senko. You pitch that thing out there. Now I've got a leader. Obviously, I'm not going to use bright pink line right to my bait, right? But I've got a leader on there. But I throw that Senko out there and that thing's sinking. It's falling weightless. But when a fish hits that, I see all that bright colored line. I see it pop. I see my bite, even if I'm not paying attention to feel my bite. So you can get it in bold colors, or if you're going to flip, pitch, that sort of stuff, frog, where you might not use a leader, you can get it in your greens, your camos. You've got a lot of options. But Suffix 832 is again one of those lines that we rely on day in and day out. Trust it in all sorts of different situations, both spinning gear and casting gear, and it just happens to also be affordable.
There it is, guys. Baits, hard baits, soft plastics, worms, hooks, line, inexpensive baits that don't, and tackle that don't break the bank, that we have a ton of confidence in. Guys, this is our first video in this spring buyer's guide series. It's springtime. It is time to go fishing. Everything's thawing out, everything's warm. It's time to get out on the lake or the pond or the river and cast and wet a line. You guys, this is one of our most requested series of the entire year. You guys know that we do that holiday buyer's guide. This is like Christmas in March. It's time to go fishing. So what's our next video up?
All right, tomorrow we are doing hard baits specific to springtime. We're not talking budget. We're talking about Tim and I's most reliable baits that we trust going into spring, because that's a category where you can spend a lot of money not knowing what you're doing. We're going to try and save you there. Some of them are baits you've seen in other videos because they really are the baits we use. Some of them are categories we haven't gotten to yet this spring. They might surprise you as we go. But tomorrow will be hard baits. Then we move on from there. We get into strolling, we get into BFS, then we start getting into rods and reels.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, guys. Like Matt said earlier in this video, we got 8 straight videos for you. So this is video number 1 in the series. Guys, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you have any questions, please leave those down below in the comment section. We'll try to get to those as soon as possible to help you guys out. But if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you tomorrow on the next video.